In March 2025, a marketing director at a mid-sized European athleisure brand approved a €25,000 sponsorship deal with a 23-year-old wellness influencer based in Barcelona. Call her Sofia Vega, whose Instagram had 380,000 followers. A tightly curated feed of Pilates studios and oat-milk lattes, and what looked like a mid-six-figure engagement rate. The campaign launched in April. By the end of May, the brand's social listening tool had flagged something off. Sofia's voice in the sponsored video was subtly different from her earlier reels. A reverse image search on her face returned 0 matches before October 2023. The Barcelona address on her invoicing was a virtual mailbox. Sofia did not exist. Sofia was a synthetic influencer, built and operated by an agency running an estimated 42 such personas, monetized to around €160,000 a month in brand deals from advertisers who had no idea the people in their campaigns were not people. This is the AI influencer farm scam, a fast-growing fraud industry that is quietly siphoning a meaningful slice of the $24 billion global influencer marketing budget. Here is how the operation works, who runs it, and how to tell a real influencer from one you have just been catfished by. The business model is simple. A small agency, usually 3 to 7 people, often based in Spain, the Netherlands, or Eastern Europe, where AI talent is cheap and brand exposure is short, designs a stable of synthetic personas. Each persona has a face generated by a fine-tuned diffusion model, a backstory written by a language model, a voice cloned from public voice acting samples, and an Instagram and TikTok presence that posts 5 to 10 pieces of content a week. Photographs are produced by feeding the persona's reference face into comfy UI workflows. Videos are now produced via tools like Veo or Sora, paired with face swap consistency models. Each persona costs around $1,500 to $4,000 a month to operate, and each one can be expected to pull between $8,000 and $40,000 a month in brand deals once it crosses 100,000 followers. With 20 to 50 personas in a stable, an agency clears between $200,000 and $1 million a month in revenue, with margins north of 70%. The follower base is the part most people get wrong. The personas do attract real followers, synthetic faces, particularly the conventionally attractive female ones that perform best in this format, accumulate organic followers easily. But the base is seeded and amplified with bot followers. The agencies buy what is called a launch package, typically 20 to 50,000 bot followers and 1,000 bot engagements per post, from one of several Pakistani, Indonesian, or Russian growth services for around $400. These accounts are not the crude bots of 2019. They have profile photos, post histories, and they respond to comments using language model-generated replies. Within 90 days, the persona's seeded base has attracted enough real followers to look natural in audit tools. By 6 months in, the persona is being recommended to real users by the platform's recommendation engine, which has no way to distinguish a synthetic person from a real one. The agencies time their first brand pitches for exactly this moment. The pitch to brands is the third piece. The agencies do not present themselves as AI agencies. They present themselves as boutique talent management for niche lifestyle influencers. They have a roster, they have a media kit, they have signed contracts and tax invoices. The contact for each persona is a real human at the agency who answers emails as the influencer's manager. When a brand asks for a video call with the talent, the agencies either decline politely, citing the influencer's introvert personality, or they put on a live stream deepfake using the same face swap tools that fraud operators in other industries use, with a junior staffer reading lines off a script. Several documented cases in 2024 involved brand managers having full half-hour video meetings with people who do not exist. The agencies invoice through a legitimate management entity, register for VAT, and pay actual taxes on their revenue. From a brand procurement perspective, everything looks normal. A second case from October 2024 followed the same pattern but at a different scale. A North American skincare brand signed what was meant to be a flagship 6-figure annual deal with a 31-year-old dermatology-adjacent influencer whose account had 800,000 followers and a podcast about ingredient science. The podcast was the giveaway. When the brand's media buying team requested the raw audio for relicensing, the agency could not produce it. Forensic audio analysis later showed every episode had been generated end-to-end, from a fine-tuned voice model and a script written by a language model. The influencer had never spoken a sentence of it. The brand pulled the contract, did not disclose publicly, and the agency simply rebranded the persona, kept the followers, and pitched a different brand within the quarter. Who is running this? The pioneers were not criminals. They were marketing technologists. The Spanish agency The Clueless made global headlines in late 2023 for openly building Aitana Lopez, an AI influencer who pulled real brand deals. That created a template, and within a year, an estimated 300 undisclosed AI influencer agencies had spun up worldwide, most of them keeping the AI origin hidden. The Federal Trade Commission's 2024 guidance now technically requires disclosure of synthetic creators in U.S. brand partnerships. But enforcement is rare, and the agencies route through European entities to avoid it. Several of the larger agencies have been linked to organized fraud groups operating in parallel, including some with prior histories in fake review for hire and bot click farm services for Amazon listings. The same infrastructure, the same staff, applied to a higher margin product. A handful of operations have been traced to former black hat search engine optimization firms in Eastern Europe that pivoted into AI personas in 2024 when their core business collapsed under tightened search algorithms. Who gets defrauded? Brands of all sizes, but the sweet spot is the mid-market. Companies spending $50,000 to $500,000 a quarter on influencer marketing. Large enough to write the checks, small enough to not have dedicated talent verification staff. Documented cases in 2024 and 2025 include 3 major skincare brands, 2 activewear companies, a European fast fashion chain, a meal kit delivery service, and at least 1 Fortune 500 consumer electronics company. The pattern in each case was the same. The campaign performed below expectations, an internal audit was triggered, the audit revealed the influencer was synthetic, and the brand quietly cancelled the contract without going public. Because public disclosure invites both shareholder questions and the embarrassment of having been caught. Influencer Marketing Hub estimates that between 3 and 8% of brand influencer deals over $20,000 in 2025 went to undisclosed AI personas. The real fraud number is almost certainly higher because most court cases are never reported. The downstream victims extend beyond the brands. The real influencers in the same niches are being undercut on price and crowded out of recommendation feeds. Several mid-tier wellness and beauty creators in 2024 told reporters that brand budgets they had previously closed were being awarded to accounts they later discovered to be synthetic. Audiences are being deceived in a way that matters for product safety. If a synthetic skincare influencer recommends a product, no human has actually used it, and the testimonial that appears to come from lived experience is fabricated. Several skincare AI personas were caught recommending products that triggered real allergic reactions in viewers who trusted the recommendation. There is no individual to hold accountable, no human reputation at stake, no real review behind the apparent endorsement. The platforms themselves are slow to respond. Meta introduced an AI labeling requirement in 2024 that depends on creators self-declaring their content as synthetic. The agencies do not declare. TikTok's synthetic media policy is similar, with similar enforcement gaps. Several internal documents leaked from a major platform in late 2025 acknowledged that detection of fully synthetic creator accounts trails the generation tools by roughly 12 to 18 months. The platforms have a structural disincentive to aggressively purge synthetic accounts. They produce engaging content, they buy ads, and they pay creator economy fees. Removing them at scale would cut meaningful revenue. The defenses are still nascent. For brands, the current playbook starts with reverse image search of any prospective influencer's face. Services like PimEyes and TinEye flag synthetic faces with reasonable accuracy if the persona is under a year old. Require a live, unedited video call where the talent answers unscripted questions. Deepfake live streams degrade noticeably under unscripted lighting and physical prop checks, like asking the person to hold up a piece of paper at an unusual angle. or asking the person to turn their head slowly while obscuring part of their face with their hand. Require government ID verification through a third-party identity verification service for any contract over a threshold. The agencies will not pass this. Visit the talent in person before contracts above 6 figures. Insist that payment terms include a clawback clause for fraudulent representation and reps and warranties affirming the influencer is a natural person. Audit follower bases through tools like Hype Auditor, which now flag bot-seeded growth patterns. Run a simple historical check. Does the influencer appear in any photograph or article that predates their first post by even a month? Real people leave a paper trail. Personas do not. None of these defenses are foolproof, but together they raise the cost of fraud above the agency's margin. For consumers, the tells are still there, although they are fading fast. Synthetic faces in 2026 are nearly indistinguishable from real ones in still images, but they often have inconsistent jewelry, earlobes that change shape between posts, and pet animals whose markings shift slightly. Voice tone in sponsored videos sometimes differs subtly from non-sponsored content because the cloning model has been re-fine-tuned. The most reliable consumer signal remains user-generated comment threads. Synthetic influencer accounts rarely have organic dialogue with their audience, and the comment replies, while plausible, do not survive a careful read. If you cannot find the influencer mentioned by name in any source that predates her social media debut, you are most likely looking at a persona. The AI influencer farm industry is, at heart, a story of a marketing economy that incentivized engagement over authenticity, met by AI tools that can generate plausible engagement at near zero marginal cost. The agencies are not going away, the economics are too good, and the legal framework's too slow. What you can do, whether you sit on a brand procurement team, run a media buying budget, or simply trust a creator's recommendation, is to slow down and verify. The faces that smile out of feeds in 2026 are no longer all attached to people. Treat them accordingly.